night is Tuesday, August 7th for our regular Board of Trustees meeting.
Okay, call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Here.
Mr. Crandall?
Here.
And Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
And Mr. Simcoe is absent.
We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did we have any questions for the regular meeting minutes of July 10th?
You know what, I was trying to find where we had asked you to give your opinion on the noise ordinance. And I've listened to the tape a couple times and I can't find it. But other than that, I think I'm pretty good with it.
Did you wrote that? Did you write that?
Yeah, but I thought it was, that's the meeting before. Yeah, I thought Mr. Clinton. It's not July 10th. It was the meeting before that, I think. No, maybe not. No, the 17th. No, it was July 10th. But I think we revised those minutes. Remember, I brought up the question, I thought we asked you for a recommendation.
That's what I thought.
And the paper said you weren't, I forget, but I think we revised the minutes to reflect what we did. Yeah, you're right, Bobby, you're right. I don't think the minutes say that now. The July 10th minutes.
Can we just amend that and then approve the minutes as
I'm okay with the minutes as they were amended, myself.
I'm all right with them, but yeah, let's approve.
But we'll go ahead and let's amend,
I would like to make that note though.
Yeah. How about July 17th special meeting minutes?
I'm okay with those.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay with the regular meeting.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from July 10th, July 17th special meeting, and then July 17th regular meeting.
With the one note.
Yeah.
John mentioned.
Oh, I'm sorry. Call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
So the last one, huh?
And then any additions or deletions to the agenda tonight, John? Okay.
I'd like to put one under administration on the hiring practices.
Okay, let's go to hearing of the public for any agenda items. We don't have anything written yet on that?
Not for the agenda.
Okay, then how about we go right to the zoning department? Nothing this evening? All right.
Good job.
First day, pretty easy, huh?
Day two.
All right. How about you, Rob? Road department?
Good evening. I have two items, two resolutions. Resolution 18-101, requesting authorization to award bid and enter into a contract for our 2018 leaf pickup. This is augmentation crews that support us. Opened bids on July 6th, and Battalion Tree Service was the best lowest bidder at $530.50 per hour.
Did you have multiple bids?
We had two other bids.
Good. Thank you.
Actually, that's $2 an hour cheaper than last year's bid.
I'll offer resolution 18-101 to enter into a contract for leaf pickup.
Second.
Okay, call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Thank you. Second item I have is resolution number 18-100. This is authorization to award bid and enter into a contract for our 2018 household pickup. We opened bids on July 6th, and Stevens Disposal and Recycling was the single bidder for $400 per ton and $400 per dumpster roll-off.
What does that typically run us?
For several years, starting in 2014, it was about $300 a ton, $300 per roll-off, and it has been steadily going up. And this is, last year was $350 per ton.
So in total, though, at the end of the day, what are we looking at?
to 45,000.
Wow.
So approximately 100 tons.
Do we have multiple bids again?
This year, we did not have multiple bids. I reached out to all disposable contractors. Unfortunately, it's for the township, for those companies, it's a busy time of the year, and several of the companies don't have the capabilities to pick up such a large township in a reasonable amount of time. For instance, some of the companies, they only have 4 or 5 trucks, and they can't break away from their existing contracts, their daily contracts, to come pick ours up for 4 or 5 days. We've advertised, I've reached out to some of the larger, I wrote letters to them asking what it would take them to bid on our contracts, and for example, Archibald Refuge Service. I know they do a contract just west of us, a community just west. And they basically it's too large of a community for them to service at this time. They appreciate the offers and asking. So we're going to try to think outside the box. Next year, we may consider looking at, I know other communities do what they call dumpster days, like Springfield Township, and we locate dumpsters throughout the township, and residents can go there and put their household items or household pickup items there instead of us going to them. So maybe something to look at in the future. I'm going to do a heavy campaign in the next couple of weeks, sending out letters to Allied Waste and some of the other bigger companies and asking them, what would it take? How could we maybe change the way we do it for them to bid on the contract? Right now, we basically, it's a 5-day cycle. We want the whole township done within 5 days. Because if not, then we have garbage sitting out for more than 5 days, and usually if you do that over a weekend, it becomes a nuisance. And there may be another method that some of the bigger companies might suggest that might spawn us to change the way we set up the contract. So, as of right now, Stevens Disposal, they've done it the last 3 to 5 years, I believe, and they're quite familiar with the community and the areas that they need to pick up, and they have done a great job.
Thanks for all your research on that.
I do think the tonnage is getting less and less from what I see sitting out on the roads these days, so,
Yeah.
I think it is.
I think the heaviest we've had in the last 5 years is 120 tons, and one of that was a habitual abuser that we didn't catch until they'd already picked it all up, so.
I'll move resolution 18-100, enter into a contract for a 2018 household pickup.
Second.
Okay, call the roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
So I have
All right, thanks, Rob. Appreciate all your investigative work on that. Mike, go on down.
Good afternoon. I only have one thing on the docket, that is Resolution 18-087. It's to amend the Sylvania Fire EMS background investigation policy. Mr. Burrell's office went through and looked at it and had some suggestions on changing some of the verbiage, and that's really all that was done, was some verbiage change per Mr. Burrell's office.
I'll move resolution 18-087 to amend our fire and EMS investigation policy.
Second?
Okay, call the roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Anything else?
Jim, got anything for us tonight? Thanks, Mike.
No, sir. Everything for
Jen? There's, we got somebody that we'll be asking you a question here in a few.
Okay.
So.
Under the Administrator, I have a resolution 18-2. It's a resolution to continue the contract with Lucas County Prosecutor's Office. It's for three years, we're coming off a 3-year contract. The price is the same as the previous 3 years at $105,000. And Mr. Burrell is here to answer any questions that we have any.
When does this contract expire?
This one or the one we're on right now?
The one we're on.
September 30th of this year.
Did we get any other bids or any information out there?
No.
Is there a reason?
No, I wasn't requested to, and it was just a continuation of.
I'll offer Resolution 18102 to contract with Lucas County Prosecutor.
Second,
Okay, call the roll, Mr. Genowine?
No.
Mr. Crandall?
yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
My next resolution is 18103. It's approval of the certification of street lighting assessments to the various districts. You can see we have a couple new districts and then a recertification of the previous ones that have already been on the rolls.
I'll move resolution 18103, approval, certification of street lighting districts to the Lucas County Auditor for 2018.
Second?
Okay, call the roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
I also have set a street lighting petition and set date for the hearing. This is for Eagle Creek Plat 6, and the hearing will be set for September 18th at 5:30.
I'll move resolution 18104, accept the street lighting position and set a date for the hearing for Eagle Creek Plat 6.
Second?
Call the roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And I'll turn it over to Scott. Are you going to do the fiscal?
I had something under administration.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
I was disappointed to find out in the hiring process of our fiscal and budget manager, number one, that we hadn't stayed with the same protocols of the past hirings with people in our, internally. And, again, I'm just pretty upset with how the whole thing was handled. And then to find out that the gentleman we did hire doesn't have any budget experience, which the notes that I asked for clearly states that his job is, 50 to 70% budgeting. So I don't understand why you didn't look to the person who currently does all that and at least allow her an interview.
Well, the person you're talking about, we put out a job description, and she did not meet the minimum qualifications, and on the job description, we had a college education. So she didn't meet the necessary qualifications for the job.
I was told she wasn't interested in the position.
No, she was interested. I think I was
I
asking.
found that out last week, so it was after we had hired. But, I thought you informed the board that she wasn't interested.
I informed the board, I had talked to her about it, that with the proper money, she was interested in the increase in money, and she'd be 5 days as the director in that, but I don't think I ever said she was not interested in that job. But I think she, after talking to her, and we had the minimum qualifications advertised, you could have, if the board wanted to, they could come back and say, let's change those qualifications, but they were the same qualifications we used for Scott. When we hired him.
Again, I'm very disappointed in how that was handled, and I'm disappointed in that we, as we enter in budget season, we're gonna lean 100% on the internal person, and you didn't even interview her. I think that's a slap in her face, and I think you're opening up us to a lawsuit.
Wait a minute, I think you did interview her, didn't you?
No. There was a committee.
Nor did I get her resume or anything else, which is...
We never got a resume.
You mean a form?
You're telling me you didn't get a resume from her?
About a work, I forget what she called it, a performance, but it wasn't a resume, it was a session.
Did she submit a resume?
I'll be happy to show you what she submitted. I know it was a one-page sheet. I'm not quite sure if it was a resume per se or a letter of interest in the position, so I'm not quite sure how to label it. But I'll be happy to supply that to the board if you're interested.
That would be great.
Sure.
Okay.
didn't you meet with her, John, or?
No, she delayed 2 vacations thinking that she was gonna get interviewed, and John didn't even call her. And she was typing up, well, I met with her. John didn't, I did, so if you got questions about meeting with her, ask me.
Oh, I thought John reported to us that you personally. I met with her twice. I thought you did. I thought you did.
After the fact?
No, before we picked somebody, she was not interviewed. I don't want to say it was an interview, because we had a committee of, I think it was Scott, myself, Dave, and Janet. It was an interview committee. We did not interview her.
Okay. Well, we'll keep looking into this.
All right, onward. Scotty?
All right, we're waiting for the packet to load. On the second page, we have the month-end analysis. And this is where we stand through June 30th. Of course, the target percentage would be 50% for revenue and expenditure. So I realized earlier today that on the expenditure side, we did not change the headings, but those are the current numbers. And there's nothing out of the ordinary. All the revenue items are over 50%. All the expenditure items are below 50%. And then, as usual, the road and bridge percent of budget on the expenditure side is very low, because much of their budget are those road projects that they are just starting to get into.
If I recall, the numbers are right.
Right, so
This is
we just forgot.
218,
Right, we just forgot to
17,
change the headings,
16.
but the numbers are.
So the headings are wrong, but the numbers are good.
All right, thanks. Open discussion, we've got a couple of people that signed up for non-agenda items. Dan Ellis, come on up, Dan.
I wanted to address the township board on the stormwater drainage on Holt Road. I live right across the street from Sweetwater Development, and they entered on 4 property owners and dug a ditch to drain their property. Okay, and I'm in a discussion with them about that right now. But...
Hey, Dan, sorry to interrupt you. Do you mind did you give your address? Sorry.
No, Dan Ellis, 4525 Holt Road.
It's just for the record, that's all. Thanks. No, you're good.
First time in front of you guys.
No, you're good.
I don't normally give my name and address. So what's happening is there's a lot of development on the road, and I know at some point you're going to widen that road and you're going to make it, you're going to create even a bigger issue of the drainage. And what's happening is Sweetwater, instead of what they told me they were going to drain to a ditch behind their property, they've actually created a holding pond and drained it all to the front that covers the normal storm pour, and then it comes over our property. Well, it didn't used to come over our property, but the Wamshers dug a ditch without our permission, okay? That happened about, I'd say 4 years ago, and I talked to Doug about it, and Doug said he was going to create a drainage to that other ditch, and he only needed it temporarily, okay? I talked to Rob today, and it looks like all of the drainage for that holding tank is actually going to go towards our property. There's a couple concerns for me on that. One is, it's not a natural flow, and I'm already starting to flood in our backyard, and 10 Mile Creek gets really, really high there. And so, he's increasing a non-natural flow to our property. Somewhere along the line, somebody drew like a little creek across our property, and that's kind of what Wamshire followed when he dug it. And I think 2010, the engineer actually drafted a proposed easement for him to put a ditch there, but he never ever did anything with the easement, okay? So, beyond that, if you go towards Paul Road if you go from Brent, you got Paul Road, and then you have our development. But Wamshire has purchased that property, somebody's purchased the other farmland across, they're going to develop all that. And they're going to increase the flow. And you have a ditch there have to redig it or make it bigger, okay? Or I'm going to have to resolve the issue with Walmshire and what he did, okay? Because he went and redug it when I wasn't home. And I was a little bit, and all my neighbors are upset about it, but I think what you have to do if you're going to drain to that point, which it appears that's what you're going to do, you need to put a concrete conduit in it and run it underground to the 10 Mile Creek with, one of those valves that so it won't back up. And I think you're probably going to have to do it at some point. Now, I know Walmshire wants to talk to you guys, he wants to talk to the road people, he wants to talk, but what he's trying to do is either somehow get permission to go over my property or dig a holding something there. And I can tell you Dave Fields, who is my neighbor, me, I talked to Twist, because what he did after he dug on my property is he went behind all the Sweetwater property and dug a ditch and drained it across Twist property so it comes down to that holding area. And as you fix the road, I assume you're going to create more drainage either one way or the other. And I guess I wanted to give you guys a heads up that, I would suggest that we work together to try to find a solution versus people just appearing on property and digging ditches. It's really what I'm suggesting. And I told Brian that too, well, I'm sure.
Are you familiar, Rob, with, I'm having a little trouble following you, Dan, but that's okay.
Well, I got a map I could show you.
No, I don't want to.
I mean,
Are you familiar with what he's talking about?
yeah, I talked to him a little bit before the meeting, and he was very helpful, and he had some really good.
I'd like to see it in the
Yeah.
field.
Well, I just don't want, my concern is, Doug Walmshire told me something 4 years ago, and it's not true, okay? Ryan didn't know about it, and he just went on people's property. And when I was in Hawaii, my neighbor called me and said he went on the property again after he told me he wouldn't. So I'm not happy with him digging on my property.
Is he crossing your property?
Yes, he dug a ditch right across my property, Dave Field's property, the other guy's
Where's he
property.
going, to 10 Mile Creek?
10 Mile Creek, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's probably 1,000 feet long. Ditch, okay? I mean, and it's not okay with me, and I just wanted to highlight to you, if you talk to Walmshire and he comes and brings that issue to you, that we need to work it out as a group and not somebody just telling me they're going to do this.
Dirt roads are definitely a problem, but
Right, I understand
we
that.
don't have anything in the budget for Holt Road and
Well, I figured that, and so I don't want,
foreseeable future.
When do we think we're gonna address that, Rob? Because obviously, development is picked up in that area, and,
And what's happening is all that flow is being directed that way.
yeah.
I drive that often, it's,
And it's going to get worse, and the other issue that I have is they built, I don't know, $1 million house, and his leach field is right next to that ditch. So he's going to be leaching into that. And I don't want sewage going across my property. And I don't know the containment issues today with leach fields, because I haven't looked them up, but, I don't even know if it's an issue, to be honest with you, but it is a concern to me.
Yeah. And Rob, does that fall under the county first and foremost?
First and foremost, there's two items. The first item of significance is that it's a private property legal issue that somebody went on their property and dug a drainage ditch. There was an existing tile that ran underneath Holt Road.
It's still there.
That is still there, that they basically kind of used to continue on with the ditch. Some maps, newer maps, show that as Butler Ditch. Some of the older maps, there's no ditch
No,
there.
that's not part of it.
No.
Natural ditch is what goes behind my property, and it goes into 10 Mile before it's called something else, something with an S.
Yeah, there was, on some of the newer maps, they show a ditch there. 2010 and up. Some of the older maps, there's no ditch.
And I think Walmshire dug it in 2011.
So that's the first issue. Any drainage issue out there would be something that would get Lucas County Engineer's Office involved with. There's stormwater utility money that could potentially be used to help do that. But that was something that the developer should have done prior to draining across the road into 10 Mile Creek. Because there's Kimball Creek to the northeast of him that he could have drained into as well. So as far as any resolution right now, we need to get with the Lucas County Engineer's Office, figure out what he should have done, what we can do to remedy the situation, and then what funds are available to do the remedy. And obviously, the private property issues that we're going to have to get authorization from at least 2 landowners to create that drainage towards 10 Mile Creek.
Would the county have a set of, would that have been obviously approved by a set of plans? So-
Yeah, he has a set in his possession that he showed me, a proposed easement, that was never certified by the county as far as I
These
know.
lots, 5 acres and above?
They're 5-acre lots, and they're the lots where the road comes off a Holt and goes over the bridge. In order to have a Holt Road access, a lot of them have like a sliver of property along Holt Road that kind of bobs and weaves to
So
the
you get your
back.
cars past it, yeah.
You can't even, there's no driveway.
You know where that lower part of the road is? As you come off Holt?
As you're coming between the woods.
Farm, and as you're going towards Midshaw, the road kind of drops down a little bit, and it always floods. That's what we're talking right now.
So that pipe was probably installed years ago. It's over at least 20 years old. Because I've been here that long, and I know it's been there since I've been here. And it was probably to keep water from going over the road in that swamp area, and that was before Sweetwater Farms was developed.
And they're building it up now. And just to give you a little historical perspective from me, when Doug did that in 2011, I was on vacation, I came home and found it, and I talked to Doug about it. And he told me that he only needed it temporary because he was gonna run to the creek to the backside. There's another creek that comes off of what he's developing there that runs right to Midshaw. And he built a holding pond, and he said, once I get the holding pond built, I'll run it to that ditch, and then and I said, because it's gonna fill in. I said, it's not gonna stay dug, because all the water flows in there, and dirt flows in there, And so I said, okay, I'll give you permission to keep it then, I'm not gonna bother you. And then he got sick, of course, and then he died. And I wasn't gonna bother him when he was sick, so I never really followed up, which is my point, but, my problem, but, I talked to Ryan this morning. He's gonna meet, and I don't know who he's meeting with, but he's meeting either with you guys, the county, somebody. And, they keep talking like, well, that ditch was really an existing creek that was there, and I just reopened it and all that, but it doesn't match the maps. It's not on my map that I got when I bought the house. And it wasn't there before his dad dug it. And you don't put a pipe at the end of a ditch that existed, or a creek that existed, okay? And you put a pipe at the end, right at 10 Mile there, which Doug Fields did not know about until today when I told him. So, I'm just trying to give you guys a heads up. I don't think we're not willing to try to figure out a solution, okay? But to answer your question, John, the water flows naturally that way from Brent, but you got that great big ditch there, and so it flushes it all, and it slowly goes somewhere. Sometimes that land in the front there where I have, and True Hoff has, and Fields has, it gets wet, but it hasn't been a wetland anymore. And what I'm concerned is he's creating a wetland on my property, and I don't want it. Because I want to put when you guys buy the road, we're going to put a barn there. Okay, so.
So when it's on that property, that's valuable these days, and,
As of right now, we have no current plans.
No, but I meant, how long do you think it'd be before we can get back to the dam?
Oh, well, I'm gonna talk to Brian tomorrow. I just talked to him an hour ago, and this is the first time I've heard of this. I know it's been going on for years, with this situation, but this is the first I've heard of it. So I'm gonna talk to Brian Miller tomorrow. We'll do a site survey. We'll go through, and I haven't even had a chance to look at all the mapping.
Well, I don't want to take on.
Well, we just need to look to see,
To solve.
provide Mr. Ellis.
Problem right off the bat. I want to be sure that if he was supposed to do something, I think for 5 acres, my guess is he might have gave the county a plan, but I
Well, what
don't
happened
think we
was,
can do
last
that.
week or 3 weeks ago, I went into the county engineer's office, and I didn't know that there was a proposed easement. He said, I think I drew up a proposed easement for that. I said, really? I said, can you print it? Yeah, I printed it out.
Oh,
So in
well, they didn't
2010,
know about it then,
in 2010, Longshore and him worked out a proposed easement.
just never did.
Just never did it, but I wouldn't have had, even if he would have brought that to me in 2010, I would have said you still have to use conduit and not put it above ground. I wouldn't approve the ditch. And the only reason I don't keep it there was, he told me, I don't know, what's the name of that one?
The one to the north is
The
Kimball.
east. Is that Kimball?
East, northeast is
Because he
Kimball.
said it was going to drain to that Kimball ditch. And that flows pretty good, and it basically ends behind his property, so there isn't a lot of water in there, I don't think that, you know. And I talked to Dan Twist, and he said his grandfather owned all that, and every couple of years he'd clean that up. Because he was draining to it. Because he had all the farmland, I assume.
He's got a big chunk of ground there.
Oh, he still has a big chunk of ground.
Yeah, I know it is.
Yeah, and so, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. We'll work it out, I think, or we won't work it out, you know. I'm not asking you to, you know, take care of my private.
Well, we may be able to help, I just don't want to go too fast. It sounds like
I
it's...
just want to provide Mr. Ellis all the documentation that we can provide him to see what was there and what wasn't there and why Mr. Wamsher or his family thought there was a drainage easement or wasn't. Maybe there was some signature signed by the county commissioners to create an easement, and they just didn't find it at the time. You would certainly have found it on your property, purchased
Yeah, there's no easement there.
you know.
I mean,
I just don't, there's not enough information right now to help him out as far
Let's
as...
try to get back to...
But, like I said, I'll talk to Mr. Miller tomorrow and we'll get some,
Yeah, I think in 3 weeks or so, we should have a solution. That sounds reasonable.
but what is done now. I mean, he's dug the ditch.
well, I don't know how far I got into it, because I haven't gone walking back there, but he did dig it deeper. So what he's done is, he's, from the normal pipe that goes under the road there, and that, since I've been there since 2003, it's been swampy.
Yeah,
And what he's done is, he's built off Sweetwater, and those houses were starting to flood. So then he came down and he basically took his 4-foot, you know, end loader and knocked all the trees down, and he's put some pipes back there to try to get the drainage to go this way too. And what I think needs to occur is the engineer has to look at how the drainage is, because it seems more reasonable to me that instead of draining that holding pond to the front on Holt Road, it should go back to that creek in the back. What would you call it? Kimball Creek, or Kimball, whatever, because that seems to be a shorter path and it goes towards Nishoff, and the water flows better that way. And my concern is, along with my neighbors, is every year the water creeps a little bit closer to our house when we have a really high
sure.
rainfall. And when he builds up those other houses and drains it in 10 Mile Creek, you know, sometimes that goes up 12 feet. Because I got a big floodplain there off the back of our house. But we also have that Butler Creek behind our house. So both of them start to flood, and Butler Creek starts to creep up towards the house. And in the last couple of years, it's been getting a little worse. And so my concern is, as you do all this development, all that water that wouldn't normally flow in there is now going to flow, and I'm going to have a bigger problem, because I haven't built my house up. Okay, that's all I wanted.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank you.
the explanation, Dan.
Rob, can you get, like, the basic drainage plan, or, you know, what the county looks at? Because, again, I know I spoke to you about my father's home, and, I mean, they're draining 3 lots into one 12-foot drain. I mean, again, it just doesn't make sense. And when it goes on to my parents' property, then it sits because it's flat and it wasn't built up in the last 2 or 3 years. And again, I don't understand the mathematics, how you're going to drain several thousand feet into one 12-foot drain. And again, there's got to be better solutions, but I'm just curious as to what sort of, you know, guidelines or they look at for drainage, because I certainly question it.
Yeah, as far as being able to look at mapping, yes, the county has a GIS system that has anything that we have identified into a mapping system, so we can actually pinpoint the size of the tile that's either underground, the ditches, the catch basins, manholes, stuff like that. That's all public information. It can be found on Lucas County Auditor's website or engineer's website. As far as how they predict elevations and flow of water is a mathematical engineering situation that they use. I'm sure on their
Sometimes that
computers.
stuff doesn't apply to standing there going, how the hell is that gonna drain this whole area
Right.
in one drain? Even though it looks great on paper and all the numbers match.
Some of the newer developments, like the one you're referring to, they don't use this, they haven't been using the standard large 2-foot by 2-foot catch basins. Even though the tile that's underneath there is the same size, they would use either 12, 15, or 24-inch tile to drain like the backyard areas. They're using some smaller uprights, so you use a 6-inch or 8-inch upright, and then it'd be a smaller 1-foot by 1-foot box that is supposed to be landscaped. A lot of those new developments in the rears, they do tend to flood a little bit during the development until it's done and everything's landscaped. In the maps, they do have elevations where things are supposed to be at, so we can go out, the inspectors from Lucas County are supposed to go out and check those type of deals when each lot's kind of put in separately. And the builders may not be the same builders as the one previous, and they change the elevations a little bit. Those things are supposed to be monitored by Lucas County engineers, inspectors when they go out. And they were just checking right off the plan designs that are put out there and approved.
But it is illegal to drain onto someone else's property, correct?
I would have to
Yeah.
It's a
refer,
civil matter.
I'd have to refer to John Burrell.
No?
It's not.
It's, the natural flow is fine, okay? So if you've always had a natural flow,
Yeah.
I can't go and put a dam in there and back up my neighbor, okay? This is not a natural flow. This is a private development that is changing the flow of farmland and directing it all. And as you put more concrete, more houses, you don't have the drainage. You have water you gotta move. And, and just to give you an example, when I moved into my house, we have a bridge that crosses a 10-mile creek. And in front of the bridge there, that was 18 feet deep, okay? Now it's 3 feet above the creek. And the creek has gone, so all the dirt, the trees and everything have come down and filled that in over the last 10 years. And that's exactly what happens in the floodplain where, anything that doesn't flow gets filled in. Or even if it flows, it gets filled in and it stops. And, I'm not trying to stop the natural flow of water. What I'm trying to say is, the development is creating a problem on my property I'm trying to avoid. And it's going to get worse, especially when you widen the road and you fix some of the drainage as you do that. And, if you go right where like our driveway is, right in front of that donkey barn that used to be there, there are huge conduit pipes that cross there. And I think what happens is I don't know this for sure, but my suspicion is, because you got ditches on both sides of the road, they come down there, and there's a cross pipe that's buried deep under the road that crosses there too. And I think it fits just before our driveway. I think it drains into there, because when they're running cable and gas and all that water, it looked like a maze underneath there when they dug that up. So I'm really concerned about the future development north of us, as well as, as he puts more lots and drains them all in Sweetwater. And I just don't want to flood. And I can't lift my house, so I'm kind of stuck,
There's a 30-inch conduit that goes underneath your driveway.
Yeah, there's something big, huge. But there's that conduit under my driveway, but there's one crossing the street too. Because when they dug that up to put water, they had a heck of a time routing it. So, I just think you have to have a little bit of you as he begins to do road projects down Holt. I assume he's going to fix whatever drainage needs to be fixed as he does that. He may have to raise it and redo the base, and it may change the drainage again. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying, you have to address the issue of all the water coming over to our side of the property. Because Butler Creek, floods. When Holt Road is high, Butler Creek floods, and that's what's starting to creep up towards our houses. It's not 10 Mile, but 10 Mile packed with trees that are falling over, and, every time you have a really high waterfall, the trees come down and they create a dam at our bridge. I think you guys just cleaned it out for us. Because it was starting to get really bad, and it backs the flow out there. So I guess I just want to address it with you. I'll work with Rob and I'll work with the county. We'll try to find a solution, but I think it's a bigger than just me. I think it's a developmental planning issue that I'm not sure is being addressed whenever they're planning. Okay? And so I guess I'm just bringing it to your attention, and I'll deal with it with Rob and the county.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Keep us posted, Rob. Chris Hamady? Hi, Chris.
How are we doing?
Good.
Chris Hamady, 8941 Sylvania Avenue. So, once again, my neighbors have somehow convinced me that I'll be the spokesperson for the rest of them, and just wanted to bring to your attention a couple of things that have happened in the last couple of years. So I do this crazy light show. I don't know how many of you go by Timberstone Junior High School around Christmas time, and I've got all these, about 12,000 LEDs set to music and do computerized programming. That's what I do. I'm an IT director for Anthony Wayne. And in 2016, we had some guy come on my property, and he stole a number of ornaments off the lawn. Then he went up onto the house, stole a number of laser light effects. He was on my property, according to my security cameras, for over 15 minutes, walking in the midst of the light show. Wow. So this guy wasn't even shy, and I've got pictures that I can share with you of this guy. But detective came out, police department, very responsive, came right out. They took some information. Detective called me on the phone, said there isn't really much they can do. The pictures are blurry. It was at night. And that was it. In the spring of 2017, a couple months later, and these, don't hold me to these dates, it's the best of my knowledge, my next door neighbor to the west of us, Randy Miller, someone backed the truck up to his house, kicked in his garage door, opened up his garage, backed the truck in, emptied his house into their truck, and drove away. Now, I guess we caught those guys. But 5 weeks ago, I received a call. I was getting ready to go on vacation, and I received a phone call from some folks we know that live over on Twin Creek Lane, and they said that there have been reports of prowlers in the neighborhood, and then someone did get broken into, and some money was stolen out of the house. And I guess it wasn't nearly a break-in. They left their garage door open, and this person just walked right into their home and stole from them. Well, I went then, before my vacation, to my neighbors behind me, the Perrys, and they're at 3905 her road, and I said, can you guys keep an eye on the house while we're gone? I was worried, and got a phone call from Randy Miller. Halfway through our vacation, someone went into the Perry's garage and stole over $5,000 worth of power equipment and emptied their deep freeze of all their meat. So, I guess I'm telling you this because it's my house, the house next to me, the house behind me. There's only one more house, and that's the Flanagans, and Mike told me I could speak for him. They're worried. They got a new baby, and we're just trying to get a handle on what we can do. Are the police going to do anything differently to try to solve this? Because we're all getting nervous out in our neighborhood, and I'll be the first to tell you, I'm proud of it. I've never voted down a tax levy because if you want to live in a nice community, you got to pay for it. But Deb Perry, she said she waited 3 days for a detective to show up on this recent break-in. She said it wasn't until 3 weeks later that she was told that the police report was ready, and then she said she came down to the King Road Police Department today and stood in the lobby for 15 minutes, and nobody ever came out to talk with her, and she started calling phone numbers. Finally, someone came out to talk with her, and we're just asking for help. I mean, I'm not throwing stones. We just need some help.
We've got a great police department, and we've got great detectives in there, and Mr. Reddick is here representing them this evening, and I'm sure that we apologize for any mishandling to this point, but I'm sure Mr. Reddick will get on this first thing tomorrow morning and start following up, and we do have a lot of assets and things that we can put in place to make sure, I mean, obviously I've got several family members in that area as well, and I'm concerned, but we certainly do appreciate you bringing it to our attention, because it's something that I was unaware of to this point, and it is, Mr. Ellis is right in that neck of the woods as well, so, it's something that we're not going to take lightly, and we will definitely be following up with our chief and other things tomorrow. So, Mr. Redding, do you have anything to add or want to chime in here?
We're well aware of what was going on over there on her. Unfortunately, in the incident you're talking about, where they went in and got all the power tools, there was no evidence left behind. We know a relative time frame, but with that being such a deserted area, it's so easy for someone to park a car, walk over, grab it, and walk out. And at nighttime, with no one seeing anything like that, it just makes it very difficult. As far as what you were referring to with the house getting broken into, with the money getting stolen, we did capture that guy. In fact, the chief brought it up at the last meeting. The guy was down from Lima, and he got caught up in Michigan after we had a GPS tracker on his car stuff. He was doing this all the way from Lima all the way up to Royal Oak, and so he has been caught. As far as waiting today, I don't know what that was all about. I was there. No one let me know that there was anyone there, so I'll check into that.
The one suggestion that, we discuss as neighbors is that we can go online and we can pull up crime reports, monthly crime reports on the Toledo Blade, and they show a number of suburbs around Toledo, but there's no data there for Sylvania. And we just feel that it would be advantageous for all of us if you can see that there's issues going on in your neighborhood, you can take those extra precautions. Could we have a monthly crime report so that people can be made aware in advance that there's things going on in their neighborhood so that they can take those extra precautions? It's just a suggestion that what we were talking about.
Why aren't we listed in the Blade anymore? And I assume because we didn't have any robberies or break-ins during that period, but someone has pointed it out to me. I mean, there were times when we go a week or two that nothing would happen in the township, but it does appear now that we're being left off of that. Is there a reason, or are we not reporting it, or?
All reports are available. We don't control what the Blade publishes.
Right, yeah.
So they can come in, they can get access to any report at any time. But there is the crime logs are there.
Isn't that, at one time, didn't we have a map online somewhere that showed incidents on our website? Or, I think Chief Bolmy brought in something that had something like that, and again, I think it's a great idea to let people know where crime is happening, so everyone can be aware of the situation around them.
I think it's still there.
Okay.
Make
sure everything's up to date.
Yeah, we couldn't find it. We spent a couple days looking online to find it, and we couldn't find that information.
Jim, could you get his contact information and make sure to follow up?
Yep.
Well, I think we ought to get it on our website. It's part of your monthly report, but we're not putting it on the website. That's a pretty good idea. I think it's pretty easy for us to do.
That's a great questions. Thanks, Chris, we appreciate it.
By the way, I know the Blade blew up the map, and so the suburbs, not just us, we're all gone now on their weekly map.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for coming tonight. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to go into an executive session.
Oh, can I get?
Sure.
Open discussion.
Yeah, sorry.
I got something. I got a call from somebody, a resident, that would like to be on the Arts Commission. And if you guys remember, we had no applications last fall.
Wasn't Dennis Boyle on that?
He didn't, he was, but he did not want,
He hasn't been on for,
he didn't want to
I
reapply.
think, 2 years. But anyway, I wonder, John, if you could get together with Mike, get an article in the paper, pick a date, tell people we have an opening on the Arts Commission. I'll be sure this person applies, and we'll see what we get and make the appointment.
Okay.
All right? Thank you.
Good.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. At this time, I'd like to go in executive session at 6:23 to discuss employment, union negotiations, zoning department, fire department.
Second.
Okay, Call the roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes.
Did you give the time?
Yes, at 6:23?
Okay. Geez, when Sipco's not here, these meetings go pretty good.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we come out of executive session at 6:42.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes. I'd like to offer resolution number 105. And this resolution is to approve a letter of understanding with the IAFF Local 2243 regarding staffing and vacation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
I'll make a make a resolution, what am I doing here? A motion to adjourn at 6:44.
I'll second your offer.
Okay, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All righty, thanks, everybody.
You guys